And welcome everybody to the Philly BroCast. I am your host Ryan.
And I'm Ryan. What's up,
What's up,
bros?
bro? What's
How's it
going
going?
on, man? How are you?
Doing well. Coming live from the Eagles Nest down here.
That's right. That is right. We love to get together anytime we can and do the show rather than being separated. But yeah, it's a lot to talk about with all four sports, actually.
Yeah.
We obviously will start with the Eagles as we normally do, but don't worry, all of you Sixers, Flyers, and Phillies fans. We will absolutely be getting to that just momentarily. But listen, we got a big offseason here for the Eagles.
Huge.
Free agency is about a week away. Tampering periods, Monday? Franchise tag deadline was today. We saw some good names. Lamar Jackson, but he was the non-exclusive, so he can technically go out and negotiate with any team he wants. And if the Ravens want a match, they can. If he ends up going somewhere else, they get 2 first-round picks. Not a bad.
No, it's a good situation for the Ravens to be in, especially with the health of a quarterback like Lamar Jackson always looming in the background. If he's going to get injured, how well is he going to do?
Right.
Post-injury, I mean, they're trying to be safe and think for the future. So I think that, if he does go somewhere else, they get the 2 first-round picks. There's your future coming up right there.
Yeah, that's pretty helpful. The Giants franchise tagged Saquon after they came to an agreement with Daniel Jones.
Danny Dimes, 80 mil guaranteed.
Yeah, getting paid.
That's wild.
Yeah, we all knew it was most likely going to happen. Unfortunately, that will affect what Jalen Hurts is going to get in the next maybe few weeks, if that's how that works. I would think that Howie would want to get that out of the way before, signing some free agents or retaining free agents, if you will.
Yeah.
And we will see. Geno Smith got paid after, finally having a more than mediocre year.
I just can't believe that we're still actually talking about a relevant Geno Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, not the guy who didn't he punch out one of his players?
Punched out his player, and
when he was on the Jets, I thought that was his career ended.
Yeah.
At that moment.
Yeah,
sure enough,
that happened. Yeah, absolutely. But so unfortunately, the Eagles did not use their franchise tag as per usual. In fact, excuse me, we were me and Eric were on the Football Smack Talk show, trying to think of the last time the Eagles actually used their franchise tag, and we couldn't. The last time I think we remembered was. Honestly, I know it's not true, but I know there was somebody else. But Eric Allen came to mind, even though technically
didn't they tag Trotter at some point?
They may have.
I feel like he was one of the
Eagles
ones.
just don't use the franchise tag. It's just not something that they do. So
yeah,
it wasn't shocking. I was hoping that maybe they would get something together with Gardner Johnson before this deadline. That obviously didn't come to fruition. So now all these guys are going to hit the market. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're not getting anybody back, obviously, but I think Gardner Johnson should and is the number one priority for this Eagles defense. I mean, there are so many free agents. We have 20 total free agents.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is.
It's insane.
Yep. I mean, you have names that you're going to say goodbye to. You have certain names that have been on the team for a long time, like Brandon Graham, that you're not really sure where they're going to go in that regard. So
yeah, I mean, there was a report that came out today from Howard Eskin, so take that with however you want.
A grain of salt.
Right, with a very small grain of salt. But that negotiations are looking good, and they're looking in the 2-year, $11 million range, which I would be more than fine with.
Yeah,
that is acceptable. That's something I hope they can do and potentially give that type to Fletcher Cox. I'd like to retain the both of them, have them finish their careers as Eagles. That would be nice. But I also don't want to give them the, hey, thanks for being an Eagle. Here's $14 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about with Fletcher.
Yeah.
Because he played really well, and, there was a lot of defensive freedom for him this past season. So being that, his stats were inflated, if you will, if you look at what his value would be, it would be in that $14 million range, 10 to 14, I believe. And it's not one of those guys that you can shovel out that money for just because he's a homer or somebody who's played all of his career here.
Yeah.
So I would agree that keeping him just to keep him and having that name on our team, and I mean, I would imagine regardless of where he goes or what happens, he would retire an Eagle. He would be in the ring of the Hall of Fame or whatever
they call it.
And no love lost there. So I just it's one of those things like I'm okay with.
I mean, if it happens, it happens. Yeah. For the right price, yes, I obviously would love to retain. But, so not only you have Cox and Graham, you also have Hargrave, who, I think we can all agree is not going to be an Eagle next year. He is probably looking at about the $20 million range. That is certainly out of, I'm sure if how he really wanted to figure it out, he could. But
yeah.
I just think, with the Hurts extension coming up, we're going to kind of need to, maneuver our money a little bit more wisely in certain positions. And, with the draft coming up and with Jordan Davis, hopefully the interior defensive line looks, bright. The future looks bright. So we'll kind of see. And listen, remember where we were, after the draft. We didn't have a CB2. We were stuck with Anthony Harris and Marcus Epps as our safeties, and Howie, figured it out.
Went out and did some magic.
Yeah, he went out and did it. So I think got to give him the benefit of the doubt. We may not see the immediate results. We may lose some key free agents here, and it's going to be sad for sure, especially if Cox and Graham or both are to leave. But I think right now, in my opinion, Hargrave and Bradbury are gone. Just too much money. It looks like the Eagles might target a corner at 10, maybe at 30, depending on how the draft board falls. So that's probably most likely your CB2. But Gardner Johnson really is the key to all this.
Yeah.
I think, you have a young player who excelled in, when he came over from New Orleans. And I just want to continue that. I think he is, the future of this defense.
He was a pivotal part of that secondary.
Yeah.
That, it can't be understated how much, especially in Gannon's defensive scheme, how much, these guys got to play off. So that because they know he was ball hawking, that he was there to support and help in any type of breakdown for the corners. I mean, just like you said, especially if you have a young cornerback coming in, you want somebody there who's that safety blanket. I know it's in the title, but that's it's something that's vital to this secondary.
Yeah,
and I agree with you.
Yeah, I feel like losing two key secondary pieces would be a lot in one offseason. And considering Marcus Epps technically is a free agent, and then he becomes so much, so important, because I don't know if we're ready to have the Reed Blankenship era start. I mean, I like where he's at as the number 3 safety. And I'd like to get even more depth personally because Kevon Wallace is, I don't think he's a player in this league. And, we need to figure that out. And I think it all starts, we always say it starts in the trenches, but I feel like, we need to focus on the secondary as well. Joseph checks in from Facebook from Eagles Strong. I asked, what, who or what position takes priority? He says QB, DBs, D-line, running back, O-line. So pretty much everything. Something like that. But anyway, we need to look at what we definitely need is Hurts signed and on board. Yeah, no, like I said, I think the Hurts I'm hoping the Hurts extension happens and then kicks off. What
because you know what you can play with.
Right.
You know what money you can work with after you give up the guaranteed money for his contract, and what you're going to work with moving forward. Howie again likes to kick the can, as you, if you will, and
Right.
there could be some later money for Jalen, some incentives, or however that may work.
Yeah.
But he's going to get a good chunk guaranteed, obviously, and then what are you thinking? 40, 45 mil a year, north of that?
Oh yeah, especially with
Well,
Daniel Jones
Daniel
just got.
Jones got a 4-year, 160, with half of it guaranteed, right?
Yeah, and then there's like 35 mil more in incentives.
Okay.
And let's be honest, he is
Not the quarterback that Jalen Hurts is.
right.
Okay.
Derek Carr, same thing, got upwards of 40. I think he's in another tier. So I am expecting Hurts to go in the $50 million range.
So if you will forgive my ignorance, and maybe somebody out here has a question similar to this, Daniel Jones gets $160 million over 4 years, 80 of it guaranteed. So that goes down from $40 million a year to technically $20 million a year, correct? Because you're cutting half of that out? No. Or is it just guaranteed overall, no matter what?
No matter what, okay, you're getting that money. So they could cut you tomorrow. You're still going to get 80.
Yeah. That makes sense. No,
so
it's double checking.
It's a separate. It's almost like a separate contract that you can kind of play with and separate differently than you can with the actual contract.
Okay.
So it kind of gives the GM that flexibility to kind of maneuver this money and maneuver that money to make it work for their salary cap.
Yeah. Now, just kind of going back to the beginning, you had said the Eagles, unfortunately, did not use their franchise tag.
Yeah.
CJ, GJ. Yeah. I've always Gardner Johnson.
GJ.
It's always so
I know,
so hard to do the acronyms or abbreviations, whatever. And who else would you have been looking to tag other than Gardner Johnson?
I mean, Hargrave would have certainly been a consideration. I think the D tackle tag was maybe 18.
Okay.
So it would have been less, but again, I understand why they didn't. It's just a lot of money, and it's absolute a cap hit that is something that would handcuff us. So I understand why they didn't, and maybe I said unfortunately that might not be the right word. I just meant it as I didn't want to see Gardner Johnson hit the free agency market. I don't want him out of this building. I think he is by far the most important pending free agent that we have. And I didn't want to see him out of the building. So if that meant tagging him, and that way you have another week to figure out a contract. You don't theoretically have to go through with the tag if you sign somebody to a long-term deal. So I just felt like maybe that might have given him another week to work something out with Gardner Johnson to keep him here in Midnight Green for years to come. So, I mean, listen, I get it. The franchise tag is it's not great, but it just at least helps you to keep somebody here. Now, granted, sometimes that creates resentment, and there's a whole bag that goes with that.
Especially in ongoing tagging with the same player. I know that it's been documented well in the past that you tag a guy once, you tag him again next year. They're just like, you're literally keeping me here against my will.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're getting paid a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, I mean the top to average of the top 5 in that position.
It's not reassuring to that player that this franchise wants them here for the future. They just want them here for now.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, if you really wanted, you'd get something worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're willing to pay me the top 5, average of the top 5, why can't you pay me the 6th most for over 4 years?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but again, obviously each situation is different, and we don't know the negotiations that go into all of this. But listen, Howie's going to have to do some things, and I expect over the next week you'll see some restructuring, potentially Slay, potentially Lane Johnson. There was a rumor out there that they may be looking to trade Slay, but with Gardner Johnson, Epps, and Bradbury all free agents, I just think that would be ill-advised to basically potentially have all four of your starting D-backs in in another uniform next year.
But you have time to work with that situation with
Sure.
Slay.
Sure. Oh, yeah. But I think the easiest thing to do is just restructure, do the old how we kick the can. And, I think you do that with Lane Johnson. I think it creates over $20 million in cap space. So that gives you some maneuverability to sign Gardner Johnson back, to sign, Cox and Graham and maybe TJ Edwards or maybe Marcus Epps. Like these are you're going to have to bring back 3 or 4 of these guys if you want to continue, because they don't have a lot of draft picks. They only have 5 draft picks, 1, 2, 3, and 2 sevens. So I fully expect them to trade back from probably 10 or at least from 30. I think 30 is more likely, but I think, again, you trade back from like 10 to 13, you're probably going to be able to get yourself another pick this year and a pick in the future. So, definitely look for that. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to need to bring in bodies. You have 20 pending free agents.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you're going to have to replace them somehow.
There's definitely a level of attrition that's, going to happen. And this, it's not like this should be a surprise to anybody. This is something that Howie came out and said to the public, like, hey, this is going to be a tough offseason. It's going to be tough on me. It's going to be tough on the fans. It's going to be tough on the franchise. But if you have, just going back, looking at what Howie's been doing over the past few years, draft, outside the draft, you should have faith in the guy and that he can get things done, because this is a team that is still ready to win next year.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't even, supposed to be a Super Bowl favorite, and they plowed through.
Yeah.
And they were the best of the NFC.
Absolutely. Well, by far. I mean, clearly they had the best record in the league. They ran through the NFC. Now, whatever, you can say easy schedule, yada, yada, whatever. They're playoff teams. You play who you play, So, and listen, a couple things go the other way in the Super Bowl. We're sitting here as Super Bowl champions. So I think, while I think the window was wide the F open last year, it gets a little, a little tighter this year. But I still think with Jalen Hurts, again, the number one thing, you got to have that guy. And I think he is it. I think they're going to show him that. And I think, like I said, he's probably going to get about $50 million. I can see like a 4-year, potentially $210 million contract, with probably half of that over $100 million guaranteed, which would be insane.
As long as you keep that offensive line buff and ready to go.
Yeah, but you also have to think about it. Think about when they signed Mailata.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, my God, what a contract. This guy has barely been in the league. He's barely played football. But then you saw all the guys after him that were in the kind of the same class that were getting contracts, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You have, again, potentially Lamar Jackson, whatever ends up happening if he gets signed with somebody else or traded or whatever. You have Joe Burrow. You have Herbert. These are all guys that are going to need to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get before that curve, you're gonna look like a genius, because the cap is continually going up. Say Burrow gets 55 and Herbert gets 60. Like that's just gonna keep going up and up and up. So if you get Hurts at 50, 2 years from now, halfway into this extension, there's probably going to be 4 or 5 guys that are making more money than he is already.
Oh yeah.
So that's why it's so important to get it done now. Realize that, okay, well, listen, theoretically, he's playing out the rest of his contract. The extension doesn't kick in until next year. You can spread that out. You can technically spread a little bit into this next upcoming year too, to kind of lessen the blow. And I'm sure Howie will do that. But 2 years from now, when the salary cap has gone up continually, it's not going to be that much of a weight of percentage of your team. Whereas you have players that are making 40%, like 40% of the salary for your team. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
So listen, Howie knows what he's doing. Get it done. Sign Hurts. Get the extension over with. Fans, let's not worry about what he's going to be making. And honestly, get as much money as you can, man. Like, you're telling me that you'd sit there and be like, "Oh, I only want $40 million instead of 50." Like,
I mean, like we've talked about before, this is a business.
yeah.
So if you want to sit somebody down and say, "Listen, we love you, we want you.
Right.
What can you do to help us make this team work?"
Right.
So would you take this amount? I know it's going to be between Jalen, his agent,
Howie,
the team, and there's going to be a lot of discussion. But
right.
the fans out there,
that has to come into it. Like,
yeah.
I said last night, like, listen, I'm not going to begrudge anybody getting as much money as they can, but I also, what's more important to me as an NFL player, is it get as much money as I can and set myself up? Or is my legacy more important? Is getting to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl more important in the long run? And personally, I think my legacy would be more important. And I'd say, all right, you know what? I won't take 50. I'll take 45.
I think that's the hopes of a lot of fans when it's coming down to this.
But again, if that doesn't happen,
don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised, and don't put that on Jalen. Like you would do the same.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say. So hopefully the Hurts can get an extension over the next week before free agency starts. But again, look to see Slay, Lane Johnson, maybe some others get their contract restructured to kind of give us a little bit room to play with. And hopefully, Howie has a plan, and I'm hoping Gardner Johnson stays in the building. And that would be the first domino of a start of a good offseason, and sign whoever else we can, and then head into the draft. And, we have 10, 30, 62, and 94. I think we can do a lot of damage with that. The draft is deep in a lot of positions, especially a lot of positions that we need. But, yeah. And speaking of Eagles free agency, this Sunday at the Italian American Club in Wayne, PA at 2 o'clock, Sunday, the 12th, we will all be live. Ryan, and of course, Eric, maybe some surprise guests. We're going to be breaking down free agency from every free agent the Eagles have, how much money they have, who's the top free agents in the positions out there, what can we expect Howie to be doing. We're going to break it all down for you. So if you want to join us, come on out. We'll buy you. Eric will actually buy you a beer.
Yeah, he said
everything's on him.
Anybody that wants to come out, just go up to the bar, say, "Hey,
this one's
on
Eric."
Yeah, I heard it on the podcast, and he'll swipe the card and keep it rolling.
Yeah. So he'll have an open tab for everybody who comes out, supports us, which is great because I'm going to take advantage of that.
Oh yeah,
I know you will too.
Oh yeah, I'm not drinking beer right now, but that's okay.
Well, they have liquor.
Yes, and we're also doing a show, so
after
balance.
The show, after the
fine
show,
balance
after the show.
Yeah.
Advantage. Anyway. Come on out, Italian American Club in Wayne, PA, 2 o'clock Sunday for our off-season free agency roundtable where we're going to break everything down. So,
do you have something out on the Facebook page or somewhere social media-wise anybody can look, maybe find directions, something like that?
I don't have the event up just yet, but I will do that tonight. So that way I will tag the Italian American Club. And that way people can just hit their Google Maps and Facebook and go.
Perfect. I wanted to talk to you about some NFL rumors, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously regarding the Eagles.
Sure.
One of them being the big bearded man from New England, Matt Patricia.
Ugh.
So a lot of people have varying opinions for Patricia being part of our defensive coaching staff.
Yes.
I personally do not, but a lot of people do. He said he'd be a bad fit, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's not going to be the offensive line coach or an offensive coordinator whatsoever. So the mistakes that New England made wouldn't be made here.
Sure.
And when he was a part of Bill Belichick's defense,
It was pretty
it
decent.
was pretty good.
Yeah, obviously led
So
him to getting a head coaching job. So, listen, you're right. If you just take him out, everything else out of it, he's not a bad coach, and especially if he's going to be coming in as like a linebackers coach,
that's what I heard.
you'd have somebody with head coach experience. Granted, didn't do that well, but also defensive coordinator experience in a position coach, which is always something you'd want.
And I'm pretty sure he's got a ring.
He does. He might have a few.
I think he has a few.
But I think what has people concerned is his relationship with Darius Slay.
Mm-hmm.
And as Slay was parting Detroit, Patricia had some not so kind words for Slay, calling him not elite. And yeah, it certainly rubbed Slay the wrong way, as it would anybody. So I think people are a little worried about that. Again, everybody's professional.
Slay's not a linebacker.
Well, there's that. There is that. Honestly, if it happens, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'm kind of 50-50. While I think he is a good coach at that level, he would be a great coach at that level. Again, I feel I worry about the culture, the locker room, etc., because I think that's just as important as talent. Because if you have a solid locker room, which I believe the Eagles have a great culture, that can make up for some talent deficiencies. They have both, so it's hence why they were in the Super Bowl. I don't know if that would affect much, but I worry that it potentially could.
Mm.
And Slay, as being a leader on this team, is important to make sure that he's happy and comfortable and feeling his Slay self.
Yeah, big play Slay.
Yeah, we need that big play Slay. We need.
I mean, I think the reason for, and I'm just going to go back on Slay real quick. The reason for those rumors was just because of his production, during the first half of the season, and then it kind of falling off in the second half of the season.
Sure.
And, he's still a great corner.
Sure.
And you can get the value, I believe, a good value trade for him if that were the route that they would go. I also understand where you're coming from, where that's a conversation to be had later.
Yeah. The problem for me is, again, you already have so many pending question marks in your secondary right now.
Yeah.
3 out of 4 starters. Why would you add 4 out of the fourth? 1.
Yeah.
2, yes, it would save, I think, 16, 17 million, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
But you are also incurring more dead money down the line, which the Eagles are just the champions of.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're upwards over 40 million in dead money.
That's good.
That's got to stop. Like, that's hampering us. Could you imagine if we had $40 million more to play with? We could sign most of our free agents back,
Yeah.
So, listen, I just think, why add a problem to solve a problem?
I understand.
Granted, Slay is getting up there, but again, the potential to draft your number 2 corner and eventual replacement for Slay in the first round, whether it be Gonzalez, whether it be Porter Jr., whether it be Witherspoon at 10, whether you wait a little bit and maybe get Ringo, maybe Forbes at 30, whatever it be. There are options to bring in a guy that could learn under Slay, be the number 2, grow, and when it's time for Slay to go, step in and be that number 1 guy. I just think you trade away Slay. 1, you're trading away a veteran. You're obviously then going to need 2 corners. But then you don't have that true vet. Who would the next person be? Avonte Maddox?
Yeah.
He's a slot. He's a nickel. That's not who I want to kind of teach the next generation of corners.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be Slay. So I just think you're adding a problem to fix a problem, and I don't know which one's worse.
Yeah.
So
All right. Another question
Yeah.
/ rumor,
Ooh.
and I like this one a lot. It intrigues me just because of the sure, I want to say, beastliness of this player, the absolute fear that he can bring when running downfield. And I just kind of buried the lead there,
It
but
did a little bit.
essentially, what I heard is that the Titans could possibly be willing to part ways with Derrick Henry.
Sure.
They can save themselves a lot of money.
Sure.
And giving them a second-round pick, say at 62, might not be the worst thing that the Titans would take.
Maybe.
And the value of Derrick Henry for a second-round pick is kind of equal.
Absolutely. And thinking about Hurts and Henry in the same backfield, and what are you going to do? You're going to stack the box? Oh, okay. Well, I have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. See ya.
Awesome.
The offense would be unreal. You're absolutely right. But
the RPO would still work.
RPO would absolutely still work.
He had almost triple the amount of broken tackles that Miles Sanders had.
Sure. Now, granted, traditionally, Henry is a running back, more of obviously a power back that has the quarterback under center most of the time. So that would certainly be an adjustment. But listen, it's nice to think about.
Are you saying like bless my heart?
Yeah,
like,
bless your heart.
Bless your heart. That's a nice sentiment.
It's a nice sentiment. It would be fun and Madden. Listen,
it's a realistic.
I mean, granted, Titans did already come out and say, "Well, we're not dropping Henry ball."
Well, they also said they weren't going to trade AJ Brown.
Well, you're also true on that one. Somebody came out with odds, and the Eagles were right behind the Titans as number 2 favorite to acquire. But let's be honest. Howie doesn't like spending money on running backs. If they're not going to pay Miles Sanders $6-7 million, why would they pay Henry $10.5 million? Yeah. And then you're going to have to re-sign him, which he's probably going to want more than $10.5 million. So now you're going to have a running back probably making $12 million, who would be amazing, but that's a lot of money to invest in a running back.
Yeah, but you're getting a top 5 running back.
But you're also getting a running back with a lot of tread on the tires. A lot of injuries, a lot of tread. He has been run over 300 carries for the last couple of years, even with some of his injuries. Listen, I don't think his shelf life is more than a couple of 3 years max. And listen, I would love to have him for those 3 years. And I would, in a perfect world, would love to have him in this offense.
I'm just thinking
about, yeah, but we can't afford. I mean, we could. We absolutely, if Howie wanted it to happen, he would make it work. No doubt in my mind. It's just when you can allocate $10.5 million to a running back position, to a position that, let's be honest, has lost so much value, because how many times does a starting running back go down and a no-name ass fucking backup come in and you're like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? And everybody picks him up in fantasy and he goes off for 140 yards, and then the starter comes back, you never hear from the kid again. And the next time it happens, it's some other backup. It happens all the time. It's because it is more about the system, the running game system, than it is the player. Now, granted, the player obviously has a big part of it. It does. And there is a separation between those that are a true number ones and starters versus those that are backups. But I just feel like when, let's say Howie drafts somebody in the second round. Let's even say they go the route of drafting Bijan Robinson at 30. He falls.
I've heard this.
It would be great. I don't think he lasts to 30, but I digress. Let's say you're paying him
next to nothing. Comparatively,
you're paying
pennies.
him like 95% less than you would be Derrick Henry. That right there, that money, again, playing around with the salary cap and where to allocate your money, that is an easy decision to allocate the money elsewhere. And listen, if it happens, am I going to be like, oh man, what the hell? No, I'm going to be doing backflips and having a great old time.
So
But
let me ask you this.
I'm just saying.
Let's say you want to just type down a quick synopsis of our conversation so far. What we've been talking about most free agent wise is defense. Do you want the Eagles to draft any offensive players in the first or second round?
Yeah, sure.
Just running back.
Tight end.
Okay. So
Guard.
you would say
Guard.
that okay.
Tackle.
The lines I get. The trenches receiver? I get. I don't want another wide receiver right now.
We need somebody to replace Quez.
And I think that could be found in other avenues.
I agree.
Or later. I just said the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I could see
you would
62.
You would say 62 if a good wideout's there.
There's somebody there.
I don't agree with that.
There is somebody there.
I think the trenches and the secondary.
Would it be my first choice of positions? No, of course not.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Is that if other players of value for the defense are there at 62, you just want to take a wide receiver?
Oh no,
that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want them to draft a offensive player unless it's like this is a steal. We're never going to get this opportunity again.
Right.
In the first 2 rounds, considering what we just talked about and what everybody is talking about, defensive line and that cornerback position.
Listen,
even safety.
Yeah. Listen, the Eagles don't draft running backs, safeties, or linebackers in the first round. It's not going to happen.
All right, so there's your cornerback and D-line.
Well, you're right, and that's what I fully expect it to be. But let's be honest, how many times do we fully expect this to happen, and how he does something completely fucking different? That's just what he does. Now, saying that.
Thankfully, it wasn't the case last year.
Right. Saying all that, I would be okay with Bijan at 30 or the second first-round pick should they move up or whatever. I'd be more than fine with that. I'd be more than fine with, say, a running back in the second round. Somebody like Gibbs if they were to fall or whatnot. I'd also be okay with a tight end at 30 if
you're getting another Dallas Goedert.
Right. You are doing
Zach Ertz.
Yeah,
you're doing the cycle.
The cycle, exactly. Because as much as everybody, we don't need a tight end. We have Stoll, we have Calcaterra. Calcaterra couldn't even get on the damn field.
Well,
Stoll
probably because all the concussions he's had throughout his life.
Well, there's that. Stoll is a mighty average tight end,
serviceable,
and should be
maybe
serviceable, and should be a tight end 3. This team runs 12 and needs that tight end, that second tight end, to go out there and be able to do things.
Tyree, I know you're listening. Just step up, be healthy.
I know, buddy.
And please be that answer.
I would love it to be, but it's just not happening.
The gift that Santa forgot to give you on Christmas and then came back in like February and was like,
oh shit,
I'm so sorry, I forgot this.
But we saw the talent level in Jackson. It's there. It is.
Guy's a freak. He played quarterback.
Right.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
In college.
He had one of the best combines for a quarterback when he's coming out. And whatever, it just didn't happen. He's obviously very athletic. There's something else that's missing that he's not allowing him to get on the field more consistently. So as much as I would love it, I have to put that in the back burner of my hopes. And listen, if you get somebody like the Mayor kid from Notre Dame, the Washington from Georgia just had himself a day at the combine. There are Dalton Kincaid. There are so many nice tight ends that I would love to have here as the number 2. And listen, should that happen at the 30th pick or in the second round, I'm all for it. And listen, I'm even in the second round. I'm all for grabbing a guard because we're most likely losing Sayamalo.
That's the only offensive position I think we should go after unless this special tight end is there.
And then also, I wouldn't be opposed to getting a tackle, even if it's at 30. I would be okay with it because there are some tackles. There's that kid from Ohio State that is literally built like a fucking house.
Yeah.
I would take him at 30 if he's there. Maybe even trade back a little bit because you probably get more value. But you're going to need to think about Lane Johnson. How many years does he have left? You already have Kelsey's replacement, and theoretically, Jurgens could slide over and play guard if Kelsey is truly coming back.
Who's a free agent this year on the offensive line that we? It's not Dickerson. It's
Sam Mullen.
There's somebody else.
Technically Dillard.
That was it.
Yeah. He's all but gone.
I know.
I mean, good for him. He should get a starting job or at least chance to start. But yeah, I would be okay with those. But are they in my top 3 positions? No. I want corner and I want D line. Those are what I want in the first round. Again, if a special situation like a Bijan comes up at 30, go for it. Go grab it and figure it out. But or again, if one of those tight ends falls to 30, I'm okay with that too. But I truly believe that should be 90% draft picks on defense because that's where our free agents are. That's where we're all going to lose stuff. We got to refigure out this defensive backfield. We got to refigure out the defensive line. Both of our starting linebackers are free agents. You have Dean, but again, hopefully he can step up and continue.
Apparently, not a lot of people have confidence in Dean. He didn't
see him very much. Yeah, but when he was out there, when White went down, man, he performed. So
yeah,
that's going to be a key to next year is Dean and
his
Jordan Davis. Dean and Jordan Davis.
Yeah, both of them progressing.
And listen, I have a scenario. 10, Jalen Carter with all his issues, he falls to 10. We skip him up.
Okay.
30, Kylie Ringo. Scoop him up. And we have Georgia. And we're just rebuilding the Georgia defense.
This is and we're also like hearkening back to like 4 years ago when we were like, why are you not drafting defenses from the SEC?
Right. But you could have
offensive line from the Big Ten. You go defense from the SEC. It's a very proven formula.
It really is. It really is.
And then he woke up.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like in the draft room. He's like, SEC. It's a sign.
But yeah, that would be hilarious, right? You would have Kylie Ringo as a corner. You'd have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter as your starting defensive tackles.
Yeah.
You'd have Nakobe Dean sitting there in the middle. And you build around the Georgia defense. That's go.
Fine with me. Go Dogs.
Let's go. Georgia North.
Yeah, right? Can we start a satellite campus here in Pennsylvania?
Right? Yeah, seriously. The northern
we should
Georgia.
just be like Georgia of the North.
Georgia of the North.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Well, we went a little overboard on our Eagles talk.
We didn't do our show last week. I think we were both exhausted and busy, and
life.
But I just had so much to talk about.
I know. It's and we're gonna continue to talk about it this Sunday live at the Italian American Club in Wayne, PA. We will be live with Eric. Maybe some special guests will be popping in. So come on out, 2 p.m. Sunday, Italian American Club in Wayne. We'll post something up on Facebook. That way you can know, you can link, you can respond. Come on out, have a beer on Eric, or a couple of beers, whatever.
Not on me.
Not on me either, but food too, whatever you want. Just come on out. We'll hook it up.
Yeah.
If you can't make it live, join us certainly online. We'll be on our normal, platforms here. So we look forward to that. But yes, we have talked to Eagles. Let's save a little bit for Sunday. What do you want to talk about right now? What do you want to talk about the Flyers? Get that out of the way? Okay,
yeah.
Let's get that out of the way because Flyers are a shithole organization and is being run into the ground by Comcast, who doesn't have
a company,
who doesn't have the balls to fucking get some people in here that aren't former players or some ties to this stupid organization and that are 70, 80 years old that have been in the organization for 50 fucking years and they're making still the same fucking decisions every single freaking year and they don't do anything about it. It's the same thing. That Flyers hockey That old Broad Street Bullies is dead. Kill everybody that was associated with them. Get them out of the building. Comcast, fucking clean house. I don't even want Danny Briere to be the GM. Get Fletcher.
Don't you say anything about
because
Danny Briere.
I love Danny Briere, but he has been poisoned by Bobby Clark and Chuck Fletcher and Bill Barber and all those freaking idiots down there. So get rid of them all, clean house, and start looking at other organizations. They obviously are doing things great. Why don't you look at the assistant GMs for some other teams like Edmonton, who's building a great team, or Boston, who always has a great team? Look at them and bring in that guy as your GM and then build around that. Bring in hockey people. Don't bring in former Flyers. I'm done with it.
They did bring in hockey people, and it just so happened to be a former Flyer.
They got to stop it.
And then he moved on to a rival team because they didn't share the same vision. Now, I want you to do all that again, take two, but with more passion. Just more passion.
I'm sorry. When I was growing up, it was obviously I was always an Eagles fan, but Flyers were like right there.
Of course,
they were my number two,
especially for your old ass.
My old ass. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean,
and I feel sad because this team is unwatchable. Tortorella's been put in there for just a shit situation, trying to, I don't even know what, like, and Chuck Fletcher doesn't seem to understand how trade deadlines work, and that you have to have a little bit of sense of urgency. Listen, I know everybody's harping on the JVR thing. Listen,
he's not an issue. The team.
Well, a JVR type gets traded every single trade deadline.
Yeah.
And how you don't just start selling off your assets right now. The JVR is a perfect example. Get rid of that money. Get rid of the high salary old guys and start building young and fresh. That's how you're going to have to do it. You can't just give away contracts to average players. No offense to Kevin Hayes. The man makes almost $8 million. That's insane money for hockey. And I always was upset.
I'm a big Hayes guy. So
I like him too, but
I'm a big fan of his. There's some core guys that you can,
and you have no draft picks.
You can piece this team apart if you did it well, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Retrospectively,
they did not.
Yeah, but you have some core guys that you can kind of, I guess, try and repiece or rebuild this team again around. And I think that it's possible, but this is not like this is going to get fixed soon problem.
Oh, God, no. This is like a 5-year plan.
Long-term problem. And it's like one of those things, like, buckle up, Flyers fans. This is going to be for quite a bit. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be annoying. But I still believe that this team and this town has the fans, the ability, the wherewithal to get back into the tops of the NHL. I truly believe
I agree too, but it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
It is going to take a clean house to do so.
Yeah.
Honestly, listen, Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, Holmgren, thank you for your services. You've dedicated many years to this Flyers organization, and we can't thank you enough. Get the fuck out. It's over. Take Chuck with you. And I'm sorry, listen, I love Danny Briere. I think he's going to make a great GM. I just unfortunately think he's been in this organization in the front office a little too long around those old timers, and it might rub off on him. Yeah. That thought process, that way, that Flyers hockey, old ass mentality has rubbed off on Dan Briere, unfortunately, I think. And I would feel much safer bringing in somebody like an assistant GM from another organization that has clearly helped to build from scratch a nice young core, something like Edmonton, Tampa. I mean,
what about Florida?
Boston,
like the Florida Panthers, they're one of those teams that growing up, you wouldn't play them in a video game.
Never.
You wouldn't pick them for anything. half the players you didn't know.
Right.
Actually, 90% of the players you didn't
99%
know.
of it now, yeah.
And now they've been
All you
a
know,
relevant hockey team.
Van Riesbeck.
Yeah. But now you have a relevant hockey team that has
you have
been
a nice
good the
young
past few
core.
years.
You have
But
a nice young core.
again, being a fan of a team, even though they're technically a newer team than the Flyers,
Sure.
you still had to go through those pains. And
Sure.
I mean, we had our ups and downs, ups, downs, ups,
Downs,
and the ups
downs,
have been going.
Downs.
I feel like
Downs,
the ups for the Flyers
downs,
have lasted longer than a lot of the teams in Philadelphia.
Sure.
And
but
it was just
it's just above mediocrity though.
But it was just you were missing that one guy and they just didn't make the move, or they misdrafted or something like that. There was a lot of different extenuating circumstances. What I'm trying to say is, like, from today, moving forward, let's get rid of the past in our minds, because we need to literally look for the next 5 years. College, Canada,
international,
international, wherever you need to look to find and scout this talent, because it might not be as much of a leadership thing. It might just be a leadership hiring the right people to go out scouting and to go out and be ambassadors for the Flyers.
That's what Clark and Barber and all those old timers should be doing. They should be doing the ambassador stuff, not the making decisions, front office stuff. Like Bobby Clark, you are 1,000 years old. You played this game. You had no teeth. You probably got concussed on a nightly basis. How are you still somehow making any type of decision or input into how this team is going?
Or logical thought, really.
Right, right. Why is it okay that in the two very important things in our lives, politics and sports, do we just let old as fuck people make decisions?
Because they have the power. Like, that's it.
Dumb.
They have the secrets. They have the information. Like,
they have probably forgotten more about hockey than anybody will know. You're right.
Money is up there. Secrets and power are what really drives people to hold on to their position.
If I were ever to win like the mega super duper insane lottery where I'm winning $50 billion,
well, that's never going to happen.
No, you're right.
Even if it's 1 point something billion dollars,
I buy a sports team. My God, like, it would be the easiest thing to fix the Flyers, and you start just literally be like, "Thank you for your service. Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
Thank you for service.
Like Ari Gold with a paintball gun.
Yeah, exactly.
It just goes through and like lights everybody up. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the easiest fix to get things on the right track. Now, granted, you have to go out and get those right people, but knowing and having the understanding that you have a problem, you need to fix it. You need to get rid of all the old timers in this organization. You need a new way of thinking. You need to get with the program. Look at how the NHL has changed over the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
It is not how the Flyers play. Get with the program. Understand this game. And go out there. Fix your scouting, by the way. You absolutely hit the nail on the head. Clean house of the scouting department, too. Go ahead and get, again, it's the easiest thing. Every sport, most sports teams do this. They look for the assistant from a team that has built a team the right way, or really reinvigorated their franchise with youth and talent, and you bring in that guy and say, "Hey, listen, I know you were the assistant. Come be our main guy here. Do what you did there. Do here.
Yeah.
That it's on you."
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
That drives a person too.
Yeah.
They get handed the keys and then said, you get in a couple accidents, you're done. Like, we're taking the keys and you're never driving again.
Yeah.
That's huge. That drives somebody to perform. And somebody who was an assistant, probably always wanted to be a GM.
Sure.
Is hungry for that. And I agree with you. That's absolutely right. And there's a lot that this franchise has to do to get back to relevancy. And they can do that It's just going to take time.
But they need to acknowledge it. They need to give a little bit back to the fans. Flyers fans, more than any other fandom in this city, hold on, and it may be a smaller group, but I truly believe they are the most loyal. They will be there for their squad regardless. Listen, as big Eagles fans, we know there's a lot of Fugazi Eagles fans out there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's a lot. And a lot came on board in 2017.
You would see how many more Fugazi Flyers fans that there would be once they start winning and doing well.
I'm not
if they
saying
make the playoffs and go on a run,
I'm not saying there wouldn't be, but
come out of the woodwork.
But the rabid, loyal Flyer fan who never given up on this squad.
That's tough, man. That's a tough statement.
They are starting to turn.
That's a problem.
They are starting to turn. That
you're
small,
talking about
loyal group.
You're talking about between, and again, I'm not making fun of your age, but someone your age. No. We'll go my age because I got to go and see the 2010, 2011, 2012. Like I saw them live. I was a partial ticket season holder. I mean, again, saw some of the best games and some of the best players the Flyers have had in a long time.
Yeah,
I was alive and pretty much watching when we had one of the best teams that we've ever had with Lindros and Hextall and LeClaire, and like it was just amazing. But right now, you're going to see that this is going to keep falling. There's a steady decline that's happening.
Yeah.
And the same thing that we said last week or 2 weeks ago, keep losing.
Yeah, they can't even do that. They can't even do that right.
Get a higher draft pick.
They're like the 7th or 8th best, the worst team in the league. There's no way they're getting the first pick.
I think that in hockey, if I'm not mistaken,
They
there's a
have a
little bit
shot.
more pride.
I mean,
There's not it's not a dive type sport.
You're absolutely right. But listen, how many times has a team completely transformed by that one guy? Pittsburgh, Washington.
Are you talking about Sidney Crosby? Because you also had this guy, Evgeny Malkin, who was
I'm not saying
who could have been on another team.
I'm not saying
and been the Sidney Crosby.
I'm not saying that didn't help.
Just saying. But, that's a poor example.
Okay.
Listen, adding that one guy, yes, but having two of the top 5 players in the league is like stupid.
Regardless. McDavid.
Yes, McNasty is a literal game changer.
He is.
He literally just topped his high, the most points that he's had in a season. He topped that last night.
Yeah.
So he's got 125 points or something like that, beating 124, or it could be 124 that beat 123.
Right.
The kid is amazing.
I am that old to where I remember that was 125 is like, all right, that's a pretty good season.
Yeah.
Because fucking Gretzky and Lemieux.
Season.
Gretzky and Lemieux were just like,
we're not even.
I know. I'm just saying.
Gretzky and Lemieux were amazing.
I'm not trying to downplay McDavid because I think he is this.
But if there's somebody that's going to break some of those records, it's going to be him.
It could be him for sure. But anyway, the kid that they're expecting to be number one is on a
he's
level.
Touted to be
the next
McNasty level,
right? But we have very bad odds of getting it. We need to somehow get into like the top 5 worst teams to get much better odds to try and potentially get up there.
Does hockey have a lottery?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah. They don't do it.
Yeah,
they don't do it up as much as like the NBA with the ping pong balls. All that's just done behind the scenes.
That pageantry was actually fun for a while, and now it's like just automate it. Like just click a button, show me the screen.
Yeah.
Just make sure, like you could put names in a hat and just have somebody pick them out. I don't really care anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It was the owner's son from the Cavaliers picking out LeBron James. Fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Good times.
And then it was like, who's going to do it next year? Right. Blah, blah, blah.
Who's going to represent our team?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, agreed.
That was good, but
no
one's cared about that in so long. Speaking of the Sixers, because we could go on for the Flyers, just want to talk about the Sixers real quick. They're number 3 right now.
No, I'm sorry.
They just beat Milwaukee.
Coming down from the Flyers.
I know. I mean, again, take 2 with passion. You have the win against Milwaukee,
Huge.
an amazing explosion of points in the game last night.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it
no
was like
defense was played.
283 points
Something,
or 290
and
points.
I fully expected that to be a letdown game after
Like
the Milwaukee game.
the over, like smashing the over in that game was just a great call. Whoever did it. If you're watching and you bet the over last night on the Sixers game,
good on you.
But like they're doing well. Joel is
starting his groove. Yeah, it's starting to feel good.
Harden is leading the league in assists.
20 assists last night. Insane.
20 assists is huge. I mean,
another rebound short of a triple-double to back-to-back games.
And to Doc's credit, a little bit of Doc's credit, it's probably somebody else's idea.
Probably.
But having, the Toby and, fill-in player coming off the bench, like maybe he's the 5, maybe he's the 6, maybe he's back and forth, Maxey working him around. I mean, you also want to save Maxey's energy and health for the postseason.
Sure.
That's enormous.
Sure.
But the way that I don't believe it's Doc Rivers. I'm sorry. I have no faith in him.
None.
But the way that they've been playing overall, even though they lost 2 games prior to the 2-game win.
It feels a little different. It feels like they're in a different type of groove.
But beating Milwaukee and beating Boston.
Killing that.
You got to squash the spider, man. Like you literally have had, I think, 1 win against Milwaukee or Boston this year.
No, it's Boston. Milwaukee, I think.
No, they couldn't beat either of them. What I'm just trying to say is, like, when you get wins against these teams later in the season, it shows that you're prepared, ready, getting prepared and ready for the playoffs. And that's vastly approaching. You got like a month and a half left before you're really in the playoff. Like the hard playoff push.
Yeah, about that.
So it's exciting for the Sixers. I'm very happy for them. Very proud of them.
Yeah, listen, it's been a heart attack up and down season for sure. Just right when you think they're doing amazing, they do something stupid, and just when you're done with them, they pull you back in. But like I said, I think this last week or so, it just feels a little different. Even though they did lose, to Boston. That was a heartbreaker, and then to Dallas. But
both very good teams, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good
teams. But these last 2 wins, I'm liking Joel and Harden. I think they are really solidifying themselves as the best duo in this league, and. I just want them to continue this push and, ride into the playoffs and fight for that number 1 spot. I think they still have a very good opportunity to do that. And we'll see if they can maintain, but it doesn't matter if they're 1, if they're 8, if they're 10, 4, they need to get into the conference finals.
And they
plain and simple.
It's just vitally important. I mean, you say making the playoffs he has to go regardless.
I mean, you're probably right.
But one of the big things is having the home court advantage during the playoffs. That's going to be
huge.
So they need to keep working towards that. And I mean, the bench has been playing well. The pivotal defense that needs to happen for the most part, again, against Boston and against Dallas, like you're playing some of the best offensive players in the league, if not 2 of the top rising stars in the league, in Jason Tatum and Luka.
Yeah,
I mean, those 2 right there are the arguable names on who you'd build a franchise off right now.
Sure, absolutely.
That's 2 of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
So, but they didn't get blown out. They were slugfests.
No, if it wasn't for Jason Tatum finally hitting a shot, and
that's the thing. He's got that bug. He's got that gene in him that just he's another one of those guys that you look at and you're like, yeah, that's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
as well as Luka. So could have been ours. Yeah, we can do that all day.
Yeah, we can do that all day. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, listen. There's still. Like you said, about a month and a half before we really gotta hunker down for playoff positioning. So hopefully they can kind of. I mean, they've been one of the hottest teams over the last 30, 40 games. So they're doing it right. It's just, unfortunately, some of these losses are coming to some of the teams they really are fighting
They
against.
have to beat.
They have to beat. So, anyway, but yeah, Phillies spring training finally here. It's good to see the boys out swinging around. Harper's going to be in Clearwater tomorrow, working out for that Tommy John, slowly coming back. Everything from what I've heard, he is ahead of schedule, so we'll see.
Ahead of schedule is bad to me. I don't like hearing that.
Well,
especially with a guy who's your franchise player. I do.
I'm more.
He's still fairly young in his prime. I get it.
I'm more concerned about the fact that we haven't heard shit all about Andrew Painter.
No, we did. Well, so there was a little bit that came out today.
There was no update
about the fact that it's leaning towards, if not all the way towards, the fact that he doesn't need to have surgery / Tommy John.
That they're being overly cautious. Yes,
that's
heard
news
that,
enough.
But
for our top prospect.
That wasn't anything official from the Phillies. So until I hear from the Phillies, you can say whatever you want. I want them to just come out and say, listen, it was just some soreness. We understand he's a 19-year-old kid. We're really being cautious here. We're just gonna take another week. We're going to reevaluate. But they haven't said that. Hence why everybody is letting their minds go.
They're freaking
because elbow soreness. What does that generally lead to?
Tommy John.
Right?
I get it. I understand.
But granted, you'd rather have him have Tommy John now than later in his career.
And listen, there's been multiple cases in which Tommy John works so well that it actually increases the speed of the pitcher's pitches.
Right. But
so
we don't need that.
We can go either way. We can go this way or that way if you want. Like I'll play that game all day. But no news right now is good news.
I just think the Phillies are handling it very weirdly.
And Falter, in and of itself, like he's not a bad 5 choice.
No, I'm not saying he is. It's just I'd rather have Painter. Obviously.
I agree. That you'd rather have your top prospect
for a more fun season. Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, he's your top prospect for a reason. So you do take it precautiously. You don't say anything.
Listen. If they came out and said, "Listen,"
what if there's a team that's looking at him right now and like calling the Phillies, like, "Hey, I know you're not saying anything, but like, what's the status of this guy? I'll trade you this right now. Trade you this guy and this guy right now for him."
No.
And you say no, but they say, "Well, then you can hold on to him if he's going to have Tommy John. I'll take him right now if you're going to give me an honest answer of what's going on with him." They're going to probably play it as little as, say as little as possible because there are actually teams like looking to snag this kid.
I'm sure they will. They would have to pony the F up for this kid.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think I want to because I hate trading away our pitching prospects.
We got rid of Sixto and
before he got hurt, he was dealing.
Yeah, but they also didn't make the World Series, and we did.
Very true. So, all right, folks. Well, we went super overtime. Thank you very much for everybody for joining in. Thank you very much to the Painted Lines and the YouTube channel. We partnered up with them so that way they stream the Painted Lines. They stream on our Facebook, and we stream on their YouTube. So we always appreciate when we can see some Painted Lines YouTubers out there. So appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, whatever all the buttons tell you. But yeah.
Do what the internet tells you.
Yeah. I mean, if that isn't great advice, I don't know what is. But yeah, we will see you guys this Sunday, Wayne, PA, if I can talk.
At 2 p.m.
At 2 p.m. at the Italian American Club. We are going to be doing our first off-season roundtable, a free agency preview, where we will break down everything about the Birds' free agency, our free agents, pending free agents around the league, how much money we have to play with, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to get up to date on free agency, please join us. Come on out. Italian American Club in Wayne, PA. Wayne, PA. Man, I cannot talk today. 2 p.m. Sunday. Come on out live. Eric's buying beer. He's not here to defend himself, so
it's true.
So it's absolutely true. If you can't join us live in person, please make sure that you pop in, show us some love, comment. We'll read your comment on air. If you have any questions, please do so then as well. Other than that, that is all we got. We will see you guys next week, next Tuesday. There will be a Birds of the Round Table next Tuesday, as we're obviously going to do some free agency talk then as well. So check us out. And then, of course, Monday's Football Smack Talk show. Thursday, or Wednesday, I should say, is the TLC podcast. And then, of course, you can check out all of the TPL shows throughout the week. I'm sure me and Dives will be doing another mock draft soon coming up. So
V52.
Yeah, exactly. We've been doing a lot. So, yeah, that's it for us. Finn, you got anything to add before we head on out?
College basketball season, Selection Sunday's coming up, and a lot of the tournaments, the conference tournaments are happening. So it's exciting times. UNC is frustrating. They're a bubble team.
Yeah,
they're on the out.
There they are. Pitt's looking more in than out. That's for sure. Let's go, Pitt.
Very frustrating. And then I just wanted to give a special shout out to a friend who is a big NASCAR guy. So I want to just shout out to Mikey Pipes. Just say, hey, everybody, watch your NASCAR. It can be fun. But, give it a shot. All right. That's it. I had to. It's my teammate, man. It's my teammate.
Dork. Anyway, we're going to head on out. We'll see you guys live Sunday, Italian American Club, 2 p.m., Wayne, PA. I did it. I got through it. We're going to be doing the free agency preview. We'll see you there live. Otherwise, we'll see you right here, same time, same channel. So for the Philly BroCast, I am your host, Ryan.
And I'm Ryan. Good night, bros.
Good night, bros. Have a great night. Go Birds.
Go Birds.